Imagine a whisper in a quiet room, a secret shared, almost imperceptible, barely noticeable at first, a tiny disturbance in an otherwise calm environment. But soon that whisper echoes, amplifying louder and louder, transforming into something much bigger. That's the bullwhip effect in business, a phenomenon that can wreak havoc on supply chains. It starts with a small change in customer demand, perhaps a slight increase in the purchase of a particular item. This seemingly insignificant shift then begins rippling through the entire supply chain like a chain reaction. And as it travels, it grows more disruptive at every step, becoming increasingly amplified. Supply chains are the intricate journey products take, from the extraction of raw materials all the way to your hands. Consider something as simple as coffee beans being grown and harvested, then shipped across vast distances, carefully roasted to perfection, meticulously packaged for distribution, and finally sold to you at your local shop. In these complex, interconnected systems, even tiny shifts in buying habits can trigger massive disruptions, leading to significant imbalances. A slight uptick in purchases at the store, a seemingly positive sign, can send shockwaves all the way back to the original suppliers, overwhelming them with unexpected demand. This escalating disruption, this amplification of demand, is the bullwhip effect, ultimately costly, incredibly wasteful, and deeply frustrating for companies trying to manage their supply chains effectively everywhere. It inevitably leads to significant financial losses and widespread inefficiency across the board. Understanding the underlying mechanisms of how the bullwhip effect works is the crucial first step to fixing it and mitigating its impact. Tonight, we'll delve into the dynamics of how these seemingly small ripples can quickly become massive, destructive waves. And most importantly, we'll explore practical strategies and solutions on how to effectively stop them from forming in the first place. Picture cracking a bullwhip. Imagine the energy transfer. A seemingly insignificant flick at the handle, a mere movement of the wrist, becomes a thunderous snap, a sonic boom, at the very tip. The power intensifies exponentially along its length. Now consider supply chains. In this complex network, customer demand is that initial flick of the wrist. It's the starting point of a long and intricate process. Retailers, the first point of contact, notice what seems like just a small sales bump, a slight uptick in purchases. Reacting to this, they order a bit more from their distributors, a seemingly reasonable adjustment to meet the perceived increase in demand. Distributors, in turn, seeing these slightly larger orders coming in, start to adjust their own projections. They might assume that the overall demand is surging, indicating a significant shift in the market. Consequently, they order even more from the manufacturers, amplifying the original, small change in customer demand. Each step up the chain acts as an amplifier, magnifying the original subtle change in demand. So by the time this ripple effect reaches the manufacturers and their suppliers, that minor sales blip has transformed into a massive and often erratic swing in orders, creating significant challenges for production planning. The true picture of customer demand gets distorted along the way, much like in a game of telephone, where the original message becomes unrecognizable. And the result of all this? Overreactions across the board, leading to massive stockpiles of goods that may not even be needed, and conversely, frustrating shortages of other products that customers actually want. This phenomenon, the bullwhip effect, is all about this chain reaction, this amplification of signals as they move up the supply chain. It's not just a theoretical concept confined to textbooks, it's a real-world challenge that happens every single day in countless industries. So, let's take a closer look and see this bullwhip effect in action, observing how it impacts the flow of goods and information. Remember the great toilet paper panic of 2020? A time when something as simple as toilet paper became a symbol of widespread anxiety and uncertainty. News of potential shortages, fueled by initial supply chain disruptions, led people to buy just a little extra, just in case. Retailers, witnessing the surge in demand and rapidly emptying shelves, reacted by ordering significantly more than their usual stock from distributors, trying to keep up with the perceived need. Distributors, now facing unusually high order volumes, started to panic and placed even bigger orders with manufacturers, amplifying the initial demand signal. Manufacturers, seeing these massive orders, ramped up production to maximum capacity, mistakenly believing that the underlying consumer demand had truly skyrocketed. The immediate result? Empty shelves at first, creating more panic and driving further purchases. But soon, warehouses were overflowing with unsold stock, far exceeding the actual consumer need. All this chaos, this boom and bust cycle, started with a relatively small and temporary spike in consumer buying behavior. The bullwhip effect in full force turned what should have been a minor blip into a major crisis of oversupply. It's a textbook example, a stark reminder of how seemingly small shifts in decisions can spiral dramatically out of control within a complex system. Waste, inefficiency, and widespread frustration followed at every single level of the supply chain. The key lesson here is that the bullwhip effect is not just a theoretical concept, it's a real phenomenon with very costly consequences. But the crucial question remains, why does this bullwhip effect happen, and what can be done to mitigate its impact? The bullwhip effect thrives on poor communication and delays. Each part of the supply chain often works in isolation, with little transparency. Retailers don't always explain why they're ordering more, and information gets distorted as it moves upstream. By the time manufacturers react, they're responding to echoes, not real demand. Inaccurate forecasting makes things worse. Everyone guesses based on limited, often outdated data. Order batching, grouping orders to save costs, adds artificial spikes and lulls. These practices create confusion and overreactions. The result, wild swings in production and inventory. The bullwhip effect is fueled by these gaps and delays, but there are ways to break the cycle. The cure for the bullwhip effect starts with sharing real-time data across the supply chain. When everyone, from retailer to supplier, sees actual sales data, guesswork disappears. Demand transparency, especially sharing point-of-sale data, keeps everyone aligned with true customer needs. Collaboration is key. Joint planning, forecasting, and replenishment help partners act as a team, not isolated players. Frequent, smaller orders, rather than big, infrequent batches, smooth out demand signals. Shorter lead times reduce uncertainty and the urge to overstock. Open communication and trust prevent costly misinterpretations. By adopting these strategies, businesses can calm the chaos, cut waste, and build resilient supply chains. The bullwhip can be tamed with the right moves.